All right, y'all are 2 minutes early. Here we are at 9:53. We'll resume our meeting. And now we're on to budget hearings, and first up, and I'll give y'all, unless either one of y'all's in a rush to go, y'all both okay for time? Go ahead, Brad, you're first up on the list.
I've only got two things I'd like to add to my budget, what I presented last time. The first one is I'm asking for $4,680 to my uniform budget. And what this is, we've got 5 mechanics at a road and bridge that wear their own clothes, and they're literally just ruining them with the grease and all the stuff that they work around. And I talked with Luke out there, and we thought it might be easier instead of just having another line item for them to just add it to my budget. Now the way they got to do is write one check to the same company.
So they have no uniforms at Road and Bridge?
They don't have uniforms at all out there at Road and Bridge, no, sir.
So you're just talking about for the shop, the mechanics?
Yes, sir. It's just for the mechanics.
And you're already set up?
I'm already set up with it. I've already got a bid from the uniform company, and this is, it's an extra $4,680 a year to get those guys uniforms. And and I told them, if the guys needed something, they could let me know, and I'd let the uniform people know if they had an issue with them or something like that. Then it won't be a burden on anyone else.
All right.
And I'm willing to take all that. The next thing is I put in for another maintenance guy, and if I get that position, I'm going to need a vehicle. And I had Lisa to get me a price, and it's $33,771 total. And I'm assuming that would be broke up over a 3-year period. I don't know how that works. How y'all do
They're
that?
4 years.
A 4-year period.
And it's roughly about $1,000 a month.
Yes, sir.
Generally. So that'd mean you need about $12,000 this year in your budget.
You said the truck's $33,000?
That's the price that I gotten from Lisa.
I don't know what a $33,000
It's a
truck
smaller,
looks like.
it's a smaller, little Colorado, Chevrolet Colorado.
Well,
With full match and roll-up windows in it.
Well, I told her I wanted just a basic model. We don't need expensive.
A work truck package.
That's it.
So that'd be significantly less than $1,000 a month.
So,
Okay, we can take a look at that.
and that's all I have to add to it, and I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you.
Ms. Griffiths, if you make yours as fast as Brad did, I'm going to be impressed.
I don't know if mine's gonna be that fast, but I will try to cut it as short as I
No
can.
rush, no rush.
First of all, I just want to say thank you to the court for supporting my office throughout the year, and for approving our budget last year so that we could do some of the things that we wanted to do and get done and accomplished this last year. The one thing I want to discuss with you, I'm not going to go over my whole budget. It's pretty black and white as far as travel and office supplies. You all know what it costs to run an office. I haven't asked for any additional in any of that other than travel and our postage, because postage went up. And we do a lot of postage in our office and everything. So I have asked for an increase in the postage part. Other than that, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the proposal I put in my packet about our preservation. We have a company that has come in, and he took probably, I don't know, a whole box of our files, and they wanted to show us what they could do as far as preserving our records. And I'm just going to hand these to y'all and let you kind of pass them down. This is the finished product of what we have, and this is a different case, but this is the product he's starting with, is things like this and documents like this that actually are folded up in these little envelopes or once the records are all done, we get them back in a file like this with them straightened out and everything. And then they also put it on a cloud to preserve the records for the county as well. And they have a digitized source. Then they also work with our vendors, which is Tyler Technologies, to actually get these records put into our files here in the county on Tyler's system, so that people can actually look these records up without having to touch the records if they don't need to. We have a lot of people who come in and want to see old records. And it's hard for us, and they do get crumbled, they do get torn. These records are back from 1909, and we also have some further back, like in the 1800s, that really look worse than some of these. But I'm just asking that we look to the future and you consider the preservation proposal that I have put in my packet this year, that we can try to start trying to preserve some of these records. It's not something that we have to do October 1, but if it could be worked into the budget even later in the year, so that we could, start trying to preserve some of these records that need to be preserved for the history of our county. I mean, people come in looking at old criminal files, trying to see, their great-great-great-grandfather that murdered somebody, and they come in for all this genealogy, and we have all those records. We do have them. And they want to know more about their families and their heritage and about Harrison County, which is a good thing. And that's part of our jobs. That's part of what my clerks do every day. They scan, they put records into events and file things into events and try to preserve these records so that in the future they are there for the next generations, for your grandchildren, for your great-grandchildren. We want to see these records preserved so they can see some of this. Another thing is these records being preserved, they help the elderly in a lot of ways, and it will help some of you when you reach that too. But you have to come back sometimes and get divorce decrees and parentage records and things like that, adoption records, to be able to get Social Security. So they have to come back and get certified copies of these records. And we have to certify these records for different things like that. So it does help to have those records available, in which we do, and we do provide them. And it's just a history of the county that I think needs to be preserved. And I think as a county, it would be great history to the county in the long run. So
The company that preserves it and stores and reconstructs and puts them on the cloud, who, in the event somebody wants to log in, will there be a link on your page that they can go from your page to the cloud to research
Yes.
documents? And then if they want to print one, my question is, who gets that cost to
We
print
do.
it? Does the company that preserve these, or does your office get?
our office will get it. We get the money for the copies. So, and this is actually a copy of some of the work they did. And it's very clear and it can be done. We actually have to certify those records. And by what I mean certify, we make a copy of it. We have to put a stamp and a seal saying this is a true and correct record from, the district clerk's office. And then we have to put an embossed seal on them, because they have to have those for driver's license changes. They have to have them for name changes. They have to have them for Social Security. They want the seal. And they can take electronic seals now, which is a lot better than it used to be, but some small towns still insist on having the seal that they can rub their fingers across. And that's what we do mostly for our Social Security office here in Harrison County. But
Will they come to y'all's record rooms to do this, or will y'all give them boxes and they'll take it? I see they're out of Dallas.
what they do is they're gonna work quarterly, more or less. And they'll come once a quarter, pick up records. They have people on the phone lines that if, say, somebody came in and needed a particular record that they have in Dallas, their people will actually copy that, and they will take care of getting it mailed back to us for us to certify and get to the customers or to the taxpayers who want those records. So they have an on-call staff that does nothing for that for the different counties that they work with. And then I have a USB of the records they have right now that they've already done. I can actually stick it in, make a copy of some of those and put them, since they're not on the Tyler cloud yet. But those records can be put on there so that they are accessible, for people to come in and use the computers to even look up.
How many years would it take them to do this?
Oh, several years. What we allowed is $48,000 for this year's budget, and they get paid as they do them. So it's $4,800, I think, a month. And so they're gonna get paid monthly and not as one lump sum or anything as they process the records through the year.
They haven't given you an estimate of 2 years or 5 years?
It'll take several years to go back and get the records that we have. We have probably,
Y'all be oldest and work for.
that's what we're doing. We're starting with our 500 cases and working forward. And to get caught up to where we are now, it may take 3 years or so or
So
more.
some of your current records are already online with?
We-
So you start with your old ones and work up to the point where you already have?
Yes, because I have a clerk that you provided for me last year in the budget that is actually scans. She scans every day. She scans the records of the older records. We had a bunch of records lost in the year 2009, 2010, and she's gone back and she's worked on those records. She's going back to these records that they will be doing. So she's scanning those on and getting them into our system now. And she's already done, in a year's time, she has done, I think she told me the last count, 5 years that she's actually scanned in to the computer herself. So she's making progress, and we're just trying to go back and meet this process to come together. This process is hard for her because we can't always unfold these to get them flat, and they're not taped, they're not preserved in any way. So, but the records she's scanning are actually in legal files, and they're flat, and she's able to scan those into our scanners and put them into the scanners and everything. So she's working diligently trying to do that. And she's making a lot of progress by being there and scanning in records every day. So
Will this come out of your preservation, or is it something that we'd have to?
it could come out of the preservation fund. There's I don't know how much I have in my preservation at this
I'm
point.
looking like probably between 11 to 15,000
Right.
is about what you have in there. And those fees, you generate those fees on things that people
That are
file in your
filed,
office.
yes. I think I have more than that, maybe in my,
Your actual in 2023 was 16,000, and we had budgeted to spend that down to 11,000 last year, but I don't know how much of it you've spent.
148,000 in one
I have two different funds, and I have 148,000 balance in one fund. I've been not using it on purpose for something like this in the future. So it's, it grows each year $16,000 with the filings that we have and everything. So a lot of this has been saved up from year to year and not using it and depleting it each year, just using what I needed to do to get file folders and things like that. My file folders have just now been invoiced, so they will be coming out of that budget for this year that's in there, and they were over $9,000 for all my files this year. So that will be coming out of that budget for this last year's budget and getting invoiced and taken care of.
So if you have 148, is that what you said, Ms.
Yes.
Haynes? I mean, gosh, that easily covers the next few years for you, and not to mention what you're adding to each year, plus, gosh, interest on 148,000, it ought to be helping you too. All right.
Okay, and then the rest of it's pretty basic. I am asking to take a clerk with me to conference this year, to our main county and district clerk conference, which will be in the end of January, 1st of February. So I did ask for an increase in travel for that purpose. Although we do get some money back from the Judicial Council and the judiciary, because we have a grant that we turn in for 2 nights and mileage, and we get that reimbursed back into our travel, which I always do that. And so it pushes the travel, back in place. It pays for maybe a third or part of it anyway of our education and everything. But we get that at every conference we go to. We have that judiciary grant that our association applies for. So we have that. Another thing I'd like to talk to you about, in which I've made a note on my budget on the front page, is the salaries for clerks. Our salaries right now, they get paid a little over $15 an hour. And that's mostly in the clerk's offices. That's tax office clerks, county clerks, district clerks. We would like to see the minimum be $17 an hour at least, mainly because other departments in the county's minimum is that, and we lose employees to other departments. And we have employees that get trained on the software and things like that, and then, of course, everybody's here because they want to make a living and they need the income. They wouldn't be up here working if they didn't. And so therefore, we would like to see it at least get to a minimum of other departments, so that maybe we can keep some of our employees and not have as big a turnover for training and those type of purposes. I'm asking for that because our clerks in our offices, they take things off of e-file, they scan in documents, they do financials. Right now, I have 6 accounts, and I have 2 clerks and myself who actually balance and do these accounts. And we have a balance of, just in 5 of the accounts, $10,968,866.65. So they're handling a lot of money. They're doing a lot of the financing for all of this. And then we also have, in addition, 57 minor registry accounts that we have to take care of for the minors and actually work those CDs, renew those CDs. And we keep those CDs for the minors until they reach the majority age of 18. And we have a total of those of $654,000 a little over $654,000 that we manage on that end of it. So we financially manage a lot of money. We have a lot of responsibility. My clerks all do this work. They're the ones that, balance them, get them ready to go to the auditor's office, make all the copies, do things like this. They send out the 1099s on our minor accounts. I mean, all of this, we pay the taxes from our receivership accounts. We now have it down where McCrary and Allen and Velasca are actually sending us tax statements for outstanding taxes and things, and for receiverships that we have, so that we're actually paying those monthly now and trying to bring in the revenue on the taxes for those accounts that we weren't getting anything on unless they came and were done. So we are progressing into that. I have a clerk who does that each month. We have to turn in, as far as monthly reports, mandated things. This is an 11-page report that comes off the Office of Court Administration that shows the requirements of what we have to turn in monthly, quarterly, and yearly. We have to do all the court support into Office of Court Administration. Every time legislation meets, they give us a new mandate, a new report. Right now, we are actually in the process of training and establishing ledger sheets that we have to turn in on November the 1st that start from accumulating the records from March until August, so that we can turn in court activity by court. It's not our monthly report turns it in, but it turns it in by court as well, but it also turns in a lot of other activity on that report. And that report has to be done each month for, I call it our judge's report card. It makes them look good at conference, and it makes them look bad if they're not done when they're put up on a screen and they say, oh, well, these are the counties that haven't complied. Also, all of these reports have something to do with the courts, commissioner courts. We have to do these reports so that grants can be done. Things like that have to be done so that we can, help out with the grants in the county, in the city, everywhere. Through the years, as a clerk, we have increased on reporting probably 2 times. We used to didn't have but 2 or 3 reports we turned in monthly. Now we have several. We have our monthly reports, we have our appointments and fees reports. We have to turn in fees for appointments and for guardians, ad litems, mediators, evaluators for psychological cases. All of that has to be turned in now monthly. So we keep up with that and how much they get paid, and that gets turned in to OCA every month. We have AG finance reports that we do that have to be turned in monthly so that we get reimbursed our 66% from the Attorney General for processing the AG cases. And that averages anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a month that we get in from the AG's office just for that. We also are having to do this new House Bill 2384. We got to do new ledger sheets. We're taking training. Tomorrow I'm on a training webinar, and it's constantly something we're having to train for. We've got to do some coding for it, through Tyler. There's just different little things that are going to have to be done to make this report available. We have to now register protective orders on the OCA website, public citations on the OCA website. I mean, there's a lot of reporting that we do, and this is done not just by my office, this is done by JP offices, county clerk's offices. We all are mandated to do a lot of these reports, and the same reports. So it's just coming from a different court. So I'm just asking that, you know, we can consider pushing up the minimum wage for clerks in the clerk's office. I'm also asking for the benefit of elected officials. You know, we appreciate our salaries. We appreciate what we get each year from the 5% or the across the boards, but our salaries are being caught up by employees. And we have employees in the county that make, you know, within a couple of $1,000s of what we're making. But we're responsible for everything that has to be done in those offices. We have not had a publicized salary raise. I think the last one was in 2010, 2011, which has been a long time. I could have brought you a survey from TAC. TAC has a survey out there. You're welcome to go on their website and look at. It gives you a salary survey of what different elected officials are making according to populations like ours or surrounding counties like ours. And so in order for us to get compensated for some of this additional, I'm just asking for elected officials on my behalf and the clerks, everyone, that we get compensated for some of the additional work and the responsibilities that we have. I mean, the tax office, my office, the county clerk's office, we all oversee 9, 10 employees. You know, that's a responsibility in itself, is taking care of that. And then you have employees that are making as close as you are, and they're not looking after any employee. They're just an employee. So I know that, you know, times have changed. It's changed as far as clerks go and working as a salary for $15 an hour. Used to, when I started here, I started in this county in 1992. And when I started here, the jobs that were in the clerk's office were normally women who were part of a second income. They were married, and their husbands were the breadwinners, per se. So this was just considered an added income job. Times have changed. I have girls in my office and ladies in my office that are single moms. They're having to raise children on $15 an hour. And it's hard for them because the dynamics of our society have changed. We are having to address, you know, different type of demographics and the people that come to work in our offices. And I'm just requesting that, you know, we all work hard, and I know we all work hard, but it's hard when, you know, employees are making close to or right at what elected officials, and some are over what an elected official makes, and they don't have to run for the job. They don't have to, you know, be 24/7. I mean, when you're elected, you're 24/7. I don't care. You can be in the grocery store, and you're going to get asked questions about a divorce, about a criminal case or something, about the jury. I mean, all of that. So we're really considered 24/7. A lot of us put in a lot of hours that nobody knows about. Get here at 4 o'clock in the morning and work until time for the office doors to open. Stay late in the afternoon, come up on the weekends. We do that because we love our jobs, and we know we have a commitment and an oath to do our jobs. But I feel like as elected officials that we need to be compensated for the additional things that we are doing now. And I've been told many times, well, you knew what the salary was when you ran for it. I did. And I took that on because I wanted the job and I wanted to do the job for Harrison County. I wanted to do the job because it's my heritage. Generations of my family have been born and raised right here in Harrison County, and I want to see my generation, my grandchildren, to stay in Harrison County and want to work at places like Harrison County Courthouse. So anyway, that's kind of where I stand as far as publicizing and getting elected officials a substantial increase. And I also stand for my employees. I brought one of my employees with me today for her to hear this, just so that she knows, you know, I'm trying to take care of them. The judges take care of their staffs because they get to appoint. They get to put down what their salaries are. You know, we kind of depend on, other elected officials depend on y'all, you know, because we can't do anything without the Commissioner's Court's blessings and you all being able to publicize and to vote for these salaries. So we're dependent on y'all to try to help the other elected officials along with yourself. I know your jobs have increased. I know the things you have to do have increased. And it's more demanding now. So that's how I feel about this from my heart, as well as what I think we deserve and we need is things in our offices and people in our offices that are competent, that want to come to work and want to stay in the offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Griffiths. We are still in the budget hearing phase today, or is there anybody else that wants to come and talk about the budget? Councilman Weatherall, come on.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak briefly on budget. Budget is pretty much the same as it has been over the years. This year, there are some large items on my budget. Some of those are things that I have no control over. First item would be, since the county is going to the new radio system, it was determined that the constables were not included in any of the grant writing for that position for the radios. So for radios, comes to $18,240. So that's a large item that I've put in my budget this year, which is something that we have to do if we're going to communicate. Another large item, thanks to Judge who had suggested that the constables go ahead and put in for vehicles this go around to get the constables on the rotation, being how the county still, I believe the 3 trucks of precincts 1, 4, and 3 are the only owned vehicles I believe the county still may have. And county judge had suggested that we go ahead and put in for that this year to get them on the rotation cycle. So I've done that. A couple of notes to that. I have requested the possibility of going with a 4x4 vehicle due to the areas. A lot of time that we have to go, we don't just stay on county roads. A lot of these areas that we have to go to serve papers, to do move outs, things are non-county roads. And over the years, the number of times that either been stuck or almost stuck is quite a bit. I've talked to both Darrell and John Hickey, and they both have expressed the same thing, so that's on that. Also, another item I had requested, a new computer for my office. As we know, Microsoft is changing, and my computer is out of date. IT has looked at it, and it cannot be upgraded. So they have told me that, yes, in order to stay in compliance with the Microsoft terms and conditions, that needs to be replaced. Everything else is pretty much in line over the last couple of years. The other thing that I would like to address, and I want to thank Sherry Griffith for bringing this up. I was not aware that was going to happen today. Salaries for elected officials. I'd just like to reiterate some things that she had mentioned. You know, it's been a very long time since elected officials here in Harrison County actually received a actual salary increase. As we're aware, the employees receive step raises. As elected officials, we do not receive step raises. We do get the cost of living raises and things that every county employee receives. But as Sherry mentioned, and I will mention that again, these step raises that these employees are getting are constantly building their salaries, whereas elected officials, we don't. I want to touch on a couple of numbers real quick. These numbers reflect some salary differences within the Sheriff's Department, excluding the Senate Bill 22 monies. These are figures that I went off of prior to the Sheriff's Department getting the SB 22 money, which I knew there's no way to do a comparison with their salaries going off SB 22. But if the Sheriff's Department would not have received SB 22, currently the salary for the constables is $42,016. If, once again, if we would not include the Senate Bill 22, a starting salary at the Sheriff's Department for a deputy would have been $45,488. A sergeant, the civil sergeant in the Sheriff's Department, $52,415. That's a $10,399 difference. I say that because the duty that the Sheriff's Department civil sergeant does is the same thing that I do on a daily basis. Plus, they have secretaries. There's 2 or 3 civil officers. I'm a one-person show. I'm my own secretary. I'm my own process server. I had to put everything in the computers myself. I have to generate all my own reports that go to the state. There's about 3 reports that the state requires me to complete yearly that I have to go back and keep all statistics on. As Sherry mentioned about the AG stuff, when the AG's office sends papers directly to my office, whether it be from the Longview office or anywhere in the state, in order for the county to get paid on them, I too have to generate those sheets, those pay sheets, and submit them to Austin in order for us to get paid. So there's a lot of things that we as constables do on a one-man show. So I would just like for the court to take notice of that. We are very thankful for everything that this court does for my office, but we would just like to try to get these salaries a little bit more in line. You know, thankfully, I have a retirement. If I didn't have a retirement, I know that I could, could actually perform my job and support my family on this. The constables are the lowest paid elected officials in this county. The base salary of the constable compared to the next elected officials, which are our JPs, $7,918 difference in the pay salaries. I would just like this court to take notice of all these figures, and let's try to get the constable's salary up to a more manageable level. There is some things going on with Senate Bill 22 for this coming year. I've been in contact with our association people who are working, trying to make some changes to Senate Bill 22. So we'll see what transpires with that. Back up real quick on the proposal for the vehicle. The figure that I originally showed was with a outfitting the truck with a quote that the Sheriff's Department had received from Bobcat Communications, which was about $14,000 to outfit that vehicle. Some of the things that they had requested in that proposal are things that my office really does not need. So I have also went to Bobcat Communications and I have submitted a copy. I know, Judge, you got it, and if I need to, I can provide the court with some other ones. I went back to the court and, back to Bobcat and just asked them to do me a new quote on some things that would be beneficial to my office, such as taking their current equipment off of my current vehicle and putting it on a new one, things that would interchange. There are a couple of things that would have to be purchased that won't retrofit, to a tune of $7,308 compared to the $14,000 and something dollars that was on the initial quote. So I appreciate the time for me being here today. Once again, thank the court for everything that y'all have done for us over the years. We appreciate it, but would just like to see the salaries for elected officials in this county be addressed. As Ms. Griffith said earlier, it's been almost 15 years close since the elected officials has actually received a pay raise other than the across-the-board cost of living. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have any questions for Constable Weatherall?
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to speak about their budget? All right, if nobody else wants to, it is 10:37. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hatfield, second by Commissioner Malden. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion to adjourn passes. It's 10:37.